Oh, hey. What's up, YouTube? It's Bussy, and you're coming at you with another deck profile. Continuing in our journey into Marvel versus System or just versus System 2 PCG, I have another deck profile for you. This time, as you could see my excitement when I opened the Predators edition into versus System, I actually have a deck for you guys. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so what we have here is Mr. Black. Mr. Black is the main character for this deck. The reason why I chose him, I just thought that he's a super cool character. I like the Predators movie. I've rewatched it a couple of days ago. It's still as good as it was before. Um, One thing for sure, I think they have got the three Predator movies, not Alien versus Predator or the Requiem, which was absolutely rubbish, but the Predator movies are all absolutely brilliant, and the last one is really cool. You got Mr. Black in there, and I built my deck around Mr. Black. It's very easy to level him up. Whenever basically you range attack, he gets an XP, and his superpower, Super Predator, can be very useful as well. It actually lasts until your next turn, so he keeps the Ferocious and he keeps the Dodge during your opponent's turn as well. And then the Enhanced Biomask on his level 2 form, it was actually errated. He is able to attack hidden characters, hidden enemies, and stunned characters until the end of turn. Um, you can send corner away of the rule book that you got for this set, and you can actually get a replacement copy of Mr. Black and the Jungle Hunter as well. They misprinted the level 2 Jungle Hunter as well. Um, I mean, what I don't get about these things is that these guys don't actually produce a hell of a lot of cards, and they're all the same as well. Um, they shouldn't get mistakes like this into the game, especially if it's a game that's been like resurrected from the death, pretty much. And it's a great game. Don't get me wrong. It's super easy to pick up. I've play tested this game with a friend of mine yesterday. First time he picked up the game, picked up a deck of cards, the Queen deck that I reviewed earlier on the channel, and he had no problems playing it whatsoever. But considering the amount of cards they actually have to design, it's not a lot compared to some other card games. I don't want to fold upper deck. Don't get me wrong, but um, it's they shouldn't get they shouldn't get things like this wrong. I just don't. I don't know. Like they need to up their quality control or whatever they're doing, but it's just it's not right. But anyway, back into the deck tech. Sorry guys, I went off on a tangent. I'm gonna start with supporting characters, and this is not a mono deck. This actually runs a number of different sets. So for one drops, I have 2 copies of Yondu. Um, I love the character from Guardians of the Galaxy. B, he's an early drop with range, and he has 2 wounds, which is absolutely great. Even if he gets stunned, I can still get in with a range attack next turn to be able to level up Mr. Black. The early game cards are mostly in there to basically enable Mr. Black to level up by turn 3 latest. And then once you have a level 2 7/5 down with range and all these special attacks, you can just really get ahead of the game, especially if you have a space to use his enhanced biomask superpower. So 2 Yondus, really good superpower to be able to stun a supporting character with a turn cost of 3 or less for a red is just brilliant. Basically, you can get 2 enemies down with Yondu, and I like the flexibility of this card. So 2 1-drop Yondus. Um, and then my recent upgrade is actually 2 Falcon drones. It's because I run 3 Falconers in the deck, which again is a recent update. And I thought, if I run Falconer, obviously it's a you would probably run a couple of Falcon drones. The reason why I don't run any more is because I don't want to end up drawing it. I'd rather search for it with Falconer. But if it's in my hand, it's still fine if I get the Falconer and I play it. It just basically, the fact that it can bond with Falconer, I can use it to activate Falconer's superpower. And the eye in the sky superpower or ability, whatever you call it, the fact that I get to see each card that the enemy draws is just super good as well. And it's a good little defender for a first drop anyway, so it's good to have him. And then my main one drop really is Hawkins. Um, he's obviously from Prey, so technically he's a good character, but he's got Mercenary, so he can team attack with Mr. Black if I have to. And if he team attacks with Mr. Black gains leader, so I assign who the defender is going to hit back to. So I can prevent perhaps Mr. Black from KOing from an early wound into my opponent's main character, which is great. Plus, he's got a range. He's a 2/3 for a 1-drop, which I think is one of the most powerful 1-drops that I've seen printed so far. So definitely for Hawkins, I think it's a really great card. And then down to the 2-drops, we got 4 copies of Primeval Hunter. Super great card. The fact that he has Hunter and can basically attacks with 6 power is just amazing. I don't run green in the deck, but I run the special Predator location anyway. So in occasions I can give it stealth and lethal if I really want to. And the fact that he's got 2 wounds just makes him even better. And then I run 4 Canes. Reason for that is that I only have 12 locations in the deck, and I want to make sure that I get them, early enough so I can, just really get on using the superpowers. And besides that, Caden is just cannon fodder, really. Get him out, put him in the front row, maybe use him to protect somebody in the back row who I don't necessarily want to get KO'd, and that's about it. He serves his purpose once he gets that basic location into my hand. And now, this is a brand new edition. 2 copies of Dr. Octopus. He's another one of the old school cards, like Yondu from the first set. The reason why I added him, I originally didn't run any 3-drops in the deck. And the reason for that was that I didn't see the need. As you will see, I run a lot of equipment in the deck, obviously. With it being Predator, they release some amazing equipment for these cards. But I used to run 2 Corporal Hicks in the deck, and the reason why I show Corporal Hicks to you is that he might end up going back to go back to replace Dr. Octopus. But during my playtesting, I just seem to win before turn 7. So as a matter of fact, I really have no need to have a couple of 7-drops right now. They just basically dusting in the deck. But if I do end up playing Corporal Hicks, he's an amazing character, I think. He can potentially team attack with Kane, being a corporation character. He's got 2 wounds, 7/6, and at the end of my turn, he just puts out 2 +1/+1 counters on each ready character. So if I go defensive, he just makes that defense even more the better. And he's got range, so great character. But for now, I replace him with 2 Dr. Octopus. The grab ability is really good, that basically nobody can fly over him. And if he manages to, you probably wouldn't be using the grab ability a lot. You would probably hide him in your back row and be able to capitalize on the genius to draw an extra card at the beginning of my turn. Getting additional card advantage in this deck is, I believe, very important, considering the amount of cards I use up. Loads of equipment, loads of cheap characters, as you can already see. I want to really try it out and see how well it turns out, and if it's really good, I might end up maybe cutting maybe a Kane potentially, um, even though obviously Kane gets me a guaranteed basic location. Maybe having a guaranteed turn 3 Doctor Octopus is even more beneficial if I can protect him for a couple of turns. Um, so as I've discussed it before, touched on it earlier, I ran 3 copies of Falconer. Originally, I used to run 4 copies of the Gunslinger in here because of the equipment, but I realized that there is really not much use of that card in this deck, um, because I don't really run any of the expensive equipment. I really need its ability to reduce the cost of equipment, and the fact that he's a 4/7 or 4/8, um, doesn't really, like, there's no real difference. And with Falconer, the fact that I can use the Falcon drone to use his bait and switch as a reaction just to shuffle around my opponent's. Basically, you can, after your opponent's formation step, you can move an enemy character to his front or back row. So, this can really screw up their plans. You can put one of their melee only character into the back row, or even a flyer to the back row, um, and just basically prevent them from their original plan of attack, or maybe put a ranged attack character to their front row so they can only melee attack from that point on. And the fact that he searches for the Falcon drone is obviously great. Again, card advantage is always good in any card game that you play. So Falconer seems to be working for now, and I'm glad with that decision to change the Gunslinger out. And then I run 4 copies of Grey back. Um, I think he's an absolutely brilliant supporting character. The fact that he's got a huge defense, he's got a defense of 8, makes him a very 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 good defensive card. I would most definitely have him out in the front row to protect maybe Doctor Octopus. Um, if your opponent has loads of cheap characters, they have to maybe team attack with 2, 3 characters to be able to hit through him, and that would just basically, pretty much end up their main phase, because um, you don't really get too many characters out by turn 4. It's quite manageable. But even if they do, um, you know, you can use his superpower to put +1/+1 counters on other um, Predator characters. And even though there isn't a hell of a lot in the deck, you can always do with having +1/+1 characters on your Mr. Black, maybe your Falconer. If you have a Falcon drone in play, um, even better. It can be certainly very very beneficial. And it doesn't really get used a lot, but um, if you for any reason have 8 resources, then you can basically pay him for free. And again, he's got range, so if for whatever reason you need another range character, then your 4-drop fits that slot. And then I run 2 dragons from the aliens. He's just an extremely good 5-drop. The fact that he has leap, so he gets flight during my turn, makes him extremely versatile already. There is absolutely no cards that fly in the deck, but I have my turn 5 and turn 6 drops have both leap. So if there is a pesky character I need to take out, then Dragon comes into play. The fact that you can heal wounds off him is just really good. The fact that he's got 3 wounds, again, just really good. He's a 7/2, so he's a beat stick. Defensively, yes, not too great, but his 3 wounds certainly make up for that. He can just attack and attack and attack. You heal him. It doesn't matter if he gets knocked out. You can keep him in the game for a long time, and he's basically a wall. If you want to protect your Mr. Black chills out, behind the dragon, and happy days, sorted. And then last but not least, 2 ghosts for a 6-drop. First of all, I love the character. Secondly, he has leap, he has range, he's a 6/7, 2 wounds, and he gets to search, basically, reveal the next equipment off the top of the deck. and you just basically attach it to him for free. Again, card advantage, really good, and you actually, you know, you might not even have to pay the resource point for your equipment, whatever you flip with him. So great card. Um, I've not used him as per se yet because never gone to turn 6 when I play with this deck. He just seems to be very good in doing what it's supposed to be doing. Um, but I'm looking forward to try it out. I'll have some more game time next week, so really looking forward to be playing Ghost. Okay, so this is it for characters, and then into equipment right away. I run 4 copies of the combi stick. Uh, 0 drop equipment. You can play it as an instant combat plot twist. Just really good. It can be such a great surprise to your enemy. Um, and it gives combat master. Besides a +1/+1, so your opponent can't play plot twists if the character is in combat with a combo stick on it. It's probably one of the best counters that you will get in this game. Sorry. So yeah, 4 copies of that, and they basically I treat these cards as plot twists pretty much. Even though obviously they can stay on the character if it doesn't get knocked down. Probably the most important equipment in the deck: 4 copies of active camouflage. Um, if your turn 1 is attaching this to your Mr. Black, and then you attack for 6/4, potentially with ferocious, um, you're off to a good start. It grants stealth as well and dodge. So if you haven't got the red mana, you can still dodge up Mr. Black. For those of you guys who don't know what dodge means, is basically a character with dodge can be ranged attacked. So that can be really useful. And it's a +2/+2. So if you get this onto your grayback, and then you have a space, it gives out 3 +1/+1 counters to all your other predator cards. Super amazing. And then running 3 copies of Smart Disc. Reason why I run 3 copies is because you can get him back from your KO pile for free if you have a red to spend on it, and it grants +4/+0 while attacking. So it's a good little surprise card, certainly. Um, Again, if your first turn is attaching one of these smart discs to your Mr. Black and you don't actually manage to drop a character, I think it's still pretty good. Probably save up your red so you can play it in your next turn, because you can expect Mr. Black to be KO'd if this is what you play. And then I run the vocal mimicry setup. Why would you not run it if you run predators? They're all amazing cards. They are all very useful. The one that I found the best was Turnaround. The fact that you can look into your opponent's hand and make him discard a card is absolutely great. With Vocal Mimicry, you can do that twice. And if you have Falcon Drone, then you have full information. And full information in any card game is almost devastating. You look into their hand with Turnaround, you then see every single card they draw. Just protect that Falcon Drone, and you're basically in full control. You can use your superpowers however you want to use them. You just gotta make sure you get Turnaround. That's one of the reasons why I also included the Dr. Octopus cards, is just to give me a better chance of potentially drawing into one of these, because these cards are absolutely amazing. I love these cards so much. They are so good in this game. And then I have 4 Savage Surprise. It used to be 4 of the, Open Fire. It used to be 4 Open Fire, but during testing I realized that it doesn't, it's a win more card really, with all the equipment that I have in the deck. It's just not worth running it. And then I realized that one of the flaws of Mr. Black is that if he gets attacked, if he didn't level up, or even if he did level up, he might not be able to to hit back enough damage to yeah, you can see that pool looking right there. So what you find is that there is a potential that Mr. Black gets KO'd and he doesn't hit back, and for that eventuality you have your Savage Surprise. So if you're defending with Mr. Black, you flip, you drop this from your hand, and you basically make sure that he hits back. So um, you don't lose out on the wound race. And that's one of the other things that I like about Mr. Black is that he's got 6 wounds. I think the 5 wound characters are, don't get me wrong, they're also amazing, but how he's balanced is very easy to level him up, and with the 6 wounds, he can just survive long enough that you will always be ahead of the game, hopefully. And then for locations, for trophy area, uh, not much really to discuss here. It's the special location for the Predator cards, for game preserve, and for space. When constructing the deck, one of the key points for me was to ensure that I don't have, obviously, as all of you would when you build a deck in this game, is that I was really focusing on making sure that my characters only run off red and space, um, and then I can use the trophy areas to use that one fringe primeval predator special superpower if I really need to. But most of the time I'll be just using red or space, which keeps my deck very neat, very very easily manageable, not too many locations. Um, the equipment are all cheap, which is again is really good, and you can recur your smart disk. You can get information with your plot twists. You can get information with your Falcon drone. You can use your Falcon drone to activate the Falconer's ability, which again gives you that bait and switch where you can basically switch around one of your opponent's character. Um, I think the deck can defend itself in a variety of different ways. Um, it can, it's got just the ability to really hold its ground against certainly the Queen deck that I've built and played quite a few times the week before. So I know that is quite a hard deck to beat, and it really gets up and running in like the second half of the game after like turn 4, when you start to drop characters like the dragon. And I've learned a lot from playing that deck, and I realized like the dragon is an absolutely amazing card. Um, One of the reasons why I didn't go mono with this predator deck was the fact that actually there aren't too many predators that can just basically live off space or red. And when I saw Hawkins, I was like, okay, I gotta run Hawkins. It's just like the perfect card for Mr. Black. So you get those ranged attacks in, and he can level up. If you're like extremely lucky, you can get Mr. Black to level up in like turn 2. If you start the game, he does a ranged attack. If you have a Hawkins does a ranged attack. That's 2 XPs already. Then next turn you drop, I don't know, maybe a Kane, get a basic location, or even better if you can drop a Primeval Hunter. Um, Again, attack with Hawkins if you can, or give Hawkins an equipment if you can. Worst case scenario, make a team attack with Mr. Black and Hawkins, and Mr. Black will be leveled up.